What's up, everybody? It's good to have you all back here in the channel. This is Q-TV, and if you're watching me this morning, this January 2022, it means you are keeping well and away from the Omicron variant that is currently slashing everywhere and causing panic to every person, every government. I believe you're doing good. At least we have learned how to live with the COVID. This is the second year running. Yeah, it's the second year running, pretty much. So something good has happened, and it's another lovely day to wake up inside United Arab Emirates. As you know, this channel focuses on giving information that is pertaining to the expatriates. Particularly, we love information, and when it affects us as foreigners, of course, we love it more, and it's always a pleasure to give it back to you. Now, from last night, there is something nice that has happened, or something that should have happened long time. You know, there is a big number of countries that suffered a travel inbound traffic restriction, and just by last night they lifted it. So I think it's good. According to the National Emergency Crisis Disaster Management here in UAE, the restriction of flights arriving from 12 countries have been lifted as of last night, and most of these are Africans. I don't understand why we Africans, we suffer a lot, even though we have shown in the last 2 years that we may not be having that perfect health infrastructure in our countries. But let's face it, it's the least of us that have died of COVID. Of course, maybe we owe it to, good genetic composition, and maybe more organic food stuff, less pollution, and we could attribute it to very many things. But bottom line, we have not been the biggest casualty compared to the general perception of the rest of the world. So I don't understand in this case why we are always the ones who are having to eat why we are the ones having to suffer some of the consequences of things that we don't appear, or we are not the threat of. But anyway, as of last night, you are not going to what am I going to say? Yeah. As of last night, there is very slim chances that you could be disembarked from your flight after boarding. I mean, from last night, they gave okay to board from a number of countries. If you don't mind, I'm going to add them somewhere here on the screen and read them out to you as well. So if you are originating from any of these countries and you are coming into United Arab Emirates, whether you're a national of that country or not, it's a good time to be happy, because I know there are people who just went home on leave thinking that COVID has this, COVID has that, and I can go now for my leave. I'm free to go, I'm free to travel. But then you get stuck there. It's not that it's a bad thing to get stuck there. It's just a bad thing to have your work waiting for you and replacing you just because of some Omicron variant, which has nothing to do with you, just because your government does not agree with that government over here, and they're punishing you for things that they could not fix up there. I mean, there's just so many things. But anyway, without wasting your time, I'm going to read out the countries to you. And as expected, Kenya had to be on this list, and the first one. So I'm just gonna read it straight. The flight arrival can resume from Botswana, Congo, Eswatini. I thought Eswatini is on that area where they have the Aborigines or something like that, but it's not important. We have Ethiopia, we have Kenya, we have Lesotho, we have Mozambique, we have Namibia, we have Nigeria, we have South Africa, we have Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. Now, if you notice, this list is only African. But now come to think of it, India has not been doing very well as far as, the recovery rate is concerned. Let's say the Far East Asians, they have just decided that, come on, let UAE do whatever it wants. Our people can either stay here or be there. They don't give that feeling of being desperate to be inside United Arab Emirates. You understand? So I think it's unfair to always, earmark Africans and, you know, slot them for suffering. Anyway, they have lifted it. But I want to talk a little bit more about South Africa and Nigeria. Yeah, we know South Africa has been having the elephant numbers, or is it the lions numbers, or the lion's share as far as COVID cases are concerned, the way it is handled, the way the people in the streets appear not to be afraid of COVID, or rather just negligent or not respecting the entire pandemic situation, if you may say. You know, there's just so many things that have been coming to play, this, that, coming to play. But at the end of the day, Africans suffer more unnecessarily, particularly the is it the Anglo-Africans? Is it the pan-African? No. You know, the African part that does not involve the Arabic speaking, you know, like the North African. Yes, I'm talking about those particular people. We suffer a lot. And, you know, the entry procedures have been updated, you know, for some countries like Ghana and Uganda. Now, for a long time, it has been that Emirates can take Kenyans into Kenya, but cannot bring Kenyans into the UAE. Emirates can take Tanzanians into Tanzania, but cannot bring the Tanzanians into the UAE. I feel this is not really bilateral, if you ask me. I think this is kind of unfair to some extent, but it's not in my position to talk about that. But I feel something could be done. Maybe our African leaders can stand up for themselves, or, you know, just fix the things they need to fix. Because if those things are fixed, I don't think the level of desperate to come into the UAE will be as high as it appears to be. Because if you ask me, I think some of these countries, I don't mind to mention names, based on how we see them here in the country, countries like Nepal, countries like Indonesia, countries like Bangladesh, country like Sri Lanka. If you see such countries, actually their level of desperate to be here in the Middle East is far much higher. But they always make it look like it is we Africans that come on now. But anyway, that is not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video was just to tell you that it's another lovely day to wake up inside UAE and to discover that you can actually come from Nairobi, Kenya. So if you're coming, please be informed. We are waiting for our roikos, we are waiting for our ketepas, we are waiting for our ungaya ugalis and all that. And if you're coming from any other part of Africa, please be sure to bring stuff that, you know, people want to eat from home. We have suffered, but it's a good time. Now I'm just gonna read through my notes again. The new rules have been in play from Saturday, but, you know, implementing did not happen immediately. And we saw people really suffered in December, a lot of disembarkations. There was no like a complete or a very outlined structure on how people will get reimbursed for their flight tickets. I know people who had business class and they were not reimbursed. So many people had to get Turkish visas and go and quarantine there for 2 weeks. So I think this is unnecessary expenses for people who you already test us to be medically fit before you give us any role inside the country, and you already don't hire old people. And you know, the parameters that have been put in place are actually much. So you cannot tell me that you doubt my medical integrity just because I traveled home. You understand? I think this is where I end the video, because I've just said something very big. The English there is beyond you. Medical integrity. Bye bye. See you in the next video.